This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by the big man Frazer Clarke here in his hotel room in Manchester. Frazer, fight week for yourself. How are you feeling ahead of another outing?
Same as always, Andy. It's my job. It's what I do. Done it loads and loads of times. Different face, different name in front of me, but same objective.
Does it? I know Dave's been very respectful in the build up to this, but does it feel any different having another British opponent, somebody who will kind of, I don't want to say get underneath your skin, but he'll certainly maybe give back his worth at a press conference. Have those verbal trading as opposed to say Marius Vac, who wasn't as forthcoming with his verbal trading.
No, I think I welcome it a little bit. If you know me, you know my character. I'm a bit of a joker. I'm a I'll try to have a laugh with it. It's just a fight though. It means nothing. The way that boxing is at the minute, I've compared it to a lot of times a circus. All the bullshit, the back and forths. If it's not one thing, it's another. It's drug cheating. It's this and that. It all means nothing. It's a load of bollocks. It's all a load of bollocks. What matters is people fighting and results. That it's a results business, an entertainment business as well. But all the bollocks that goes on there, it means nothing.
After that, Fraser, how did you end up on Dave Allen as your next opponent?
There's a few names, like being chucked about, and I was not sick, but I feel like I'm trying to take a bit more control of my own career now. In terms of the opponents, not the opponent, not trying to take control of it, but I'll have more of a say and think about it. And I don't think people wanted to see me fight another Marius Whack or people that they couldn't relate to. People want to see me with someone who they know and recognise. Now, I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is Dave Allen, blah blah blah. He's not a boxer, this and that." I keep saying this. People won't understand, but when you're a fighter and then you become a father, you fight different. Happened to me. Happened to me in 2016 when my daughter was born. Your focus changed then. But then just before the Olympics, my son was born. You're a different person. So this man is coming to try and put food in his children's mouth. So danger, man.
It's an interesting point just to pick up on. Obviously, nobody really knows what Dave Allen has left in the tank. I know he's fought on a few small hall shows before his initial retirement a few years back. But you've just said you expect more of a dangerous version because he's fighting for a different purpose in life now. The last time we saw him face somebody of note is obviously the David Price fight, and David has a similar amateur standing as yourself. You'll go into it as a heavy favourite. Do you read anything into Dave's last performance against somebody who was of a higher calibre?
No, not really, because you can only go off what he keeps telling people. I think his trainers are very confident in him as well. So you just go off that. But to be honest, I don't even buy too much into that. I just try to if I go and do what I've been working on and do what I know I can do, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. If I turn up and perform, if he turns up 100% and I turn up 100%, I'm better.
I want to ask you, Fraze, when Dave initially retired, it was on the back of kind of all the Usyk sparring stories, and he had a fight lined up and he pulled out, and he simply said that he was in training and he didn't like getting punched in the face anymore. He wasn't enjoying it. But usually, if somebody was to say that, I think most people in boxing were happy to see him step away from the sport, knowing that. Is it not a concern seeing him return, knowing what he'd previously said and him previously saying that?
No, not for me. If he's been passed by the board and he's a grown man, that's on him. Do you know what I mean? I just go in there. He's Dave Allen, but it could be anyone. Do you know? I see them as an opponent. I don't see them as individuals. I don't care about his story. I don't care about his. I care about his well-being. I want him to get out of the ring safe. But for them 30 minutes, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a big boy. He knows what he's getting into. He's done it for a long time.
What are you hoping to show on Saturday night?
Just the improvements I've been making. I'm becoming more of a rounded fighter. I'm trying to use my brain a lot more. You figure things out over the course of your career. And so far, we've not seen nothing explosive, no devastating knockouts from me. But I think real boxing people can appreciate the little subtle things that I'm doing. I've not lost a round yet as a pro. I do the basics quite well, and I know what I'm doing. I know how to win a fight and win a round. So if the knockout comes or I see the opportunity, this is fight probably I'd like to be able to probably step it up a little bit. But we're talking about a very durable opponent here. I have no shame in saying David Price is the heaviest hitter I've ever been in with, and it took him 10 rounds was it before they eventually pulled him out. So, I'm not saying I'm going to blast Dave Allen away because that's just ridiculous. But I think I will show levels.
Obviously, last time with Marius Vac, you fought in an absolute sweatbox in your call, and it was draining for me just watching. I don't know what it was like for you fighting. Are you confident though going into this fight that you'll be able to kind of step up through the gears a little bit easier because it won't be as hot in there, it won't be as taxing on the body, and that you can show kind of more of a development in your boxing in the later rounds?
Yeah, but each fight is different. You do what you do for. You don't sit here and talk about I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Boxing is not a dance routine. Boxing is a feeling. It is live and in the flesh. Whatever happens, happens. I'd like to say I'd be able to do that. We'll see tomorrow night. I know I've been doing it in the gym. I've been doing one in the gym. But when they're in front of you, it's a different story. Same as all the pads, all the bags, all the Instagram videos. If you're training it in bags, pads, means nothing. When there's someone else in front of you hitting your back, holding you, leaning on you, and you're in front of under the lights in front of the crowd, that's when it really makes it's real. Then it's not for Instagram. It's not for people to say, bloody hell, he looks sharp. Oh, he's training well, he's fit, he's strong. You don't know that until you've been hit back.
Things were very jovial between the pair of you yesterday. What did you say when you got up onto the ropes to Dave?
Oh, I couldn't get rid of him yesterday. Every time I went in the lift, he was in the lift. We couldn't get out of each other's space yesterday. Just in a smaller, well, not smaller, in a nice hotel, but you just seemed to pass each other. But it's respect. It's respect as far as it goes. And when we got on there yesterday, he said, "I'm gonna absolutely fucking smash you" or something of that sort. And I said, "Dave, I hope so, man." I said, "You're looking well. Good to see you out here. Good to see you back. Let's have a good fight. Afterwards, we'll still be friends." That was it, really.
Frazer, I know obviously you don't want to give a look beyond Saturday night, but I imagine you'll want to try and get out maybe once more towards the back end of this year. What is the plan, the map that's been laid out in front of you by a boxer, by your team?
Well, there's a few options. I'd love to get out again, and I think we're making strides towards what I want, and that was the British title all along. I learnt my lesson. I learnt a very good lesson. All that shit that went on, I learnt the biggest lesson out of it. Now is not the time to call names or to say I want this and that. I was a little bit eager, I think. Even though I still stand by what I said, I still would have took the fight, I still would have done the fight, still think I would have won. But I think now is the time to work on yourself, develop yourself, become better yourself, and I think everything will fall into place. So, when I've took care of business on Saturday, I will speak to the team again Monday, Tuesday next week, and we'll have a quick Zoom, and we'll just iron out, where we think we should be heading next.
We know obviously in the background up until the Wardley-Adeleye fight was called by the board that Ben spoke openly about trying to continue to make that fight between the pair of yourself and Fabio. Do you know where that ended up at all?
No, I think that he's gone a different route now. I think obviously the Adelaide fight is imminent for them too. I'd imagine, which is fair enough. I still think me and him is the biggest domestic fight. At heavyweight. Fabio's a character, and his boxing has done a lot. He's done a lot of talking in his boxing. I'm developing a bit of a reputation. I'm coming with obviously the amateur background, and I'm doing what I need to do in terms of winning. So I still think we're the biggest fight, and we're probably the two best known out of the crop. But I don't look past none of the other guys. The other guys are all doing their own thing. Sol had a good win last week. Adelaide's obviously he's away training. Fabio's doing his thing, and there's other fighters coming up as well. Johnny Fisher, you can't take out the fact that he was devastating last time. With the way he took Harry Armstrong out, it's a great win for him. So all these guys are on the up, and I'm sure within the next 12-18 months when the powers that be bang their heads together, we can make some good fights.
What do you make of Wardley-Adeleye?
Good fight, even fight. I think. I don't know. Actually, I'm on the fence. They're both on even level, even playing fields. If you ask me, I think Adelaide did well. I think a lot of people criticised the performance last time. I thought he did quite well because I chucked my pal over there. I said, "Oh, he's got a bet," and I said, chuck £100 on the other kid for me, will you? I said, just in case he lands one on you. But no, he did. Adelaide did well. Fabio is creeping into the space of a bit of not inactivity, but the fights have seemed to slow down now. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like he's had hard fights where he needs a big break in between them. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I think obviously contractually with the stuff that's going on with Dillian, I'm not sure if it's affected his sort of progression or whatever. But I hope he gets that sorted and I hope he gets fighting soon because it's better if we're all active. We're all fighting and you're all looking at each other then, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Frazer, as somebody who's previously experienced your own purse bid drama, a campmate of yours, Richard Riakporhe, has recently been through that period in his career as well. What did you make of a fallout around the Jai-Opetaia fight?
The thing is with Richard was prepped for it. He was prepped and prepared for it because he'd seen it firsthand with me, wasn't he? So he got his statement out there early. He sort of covered all bases with that. Yeah, a bit of a nightmare again. I don't know the situation with Boxer with the purse bids, but they seem to avoid him like the plague, don't they? Which is a shame for the fighters because the fighters want to fight and take the best opportunities for themselves. But I understand for the fighters, it's like, do you bite the hand that feeds you? Because remember, I could have stayed in the purse bid. Richard could have stayed in the purse bid because the purse bids to Frazer Clarke and to Richard Riakporhe, but obviously certain advice and different bits and bobs, we ended up not going through with them. So yeah, I was disappointed for him. I think Richard's been waiting around now for a long time for a world title shot. I think that was there. I think it's the most difficult in that weight division. I think that's the most difficult shot as well. But I give him every chance going into that fight, and I think it would have been a really good fight. Now Jordan Thompson comes in, and you know what? He's got a lottery ticket, and I hope to God he lands that big shot or he boxes the ears off his kid. I want to see him win the world title. So, fair play to him and good luck to him.
Where do things currently stand with Richard? What can you tell us about what's looking likely for him next? Because he's still being mentioned amongst a number of fights.
I'm not too sure about what's next for him, but what I can tell you is he's doing the right thing. He's staying in the gym. He's working well. He's investing in himself. He's spending a lot of money on getting different sparring partners over, different styles in front of him. So Richard will be prepared for whatever's next. And that is already a champion for me. Someone, there has been a bit of controversy around him, but he's decided to, it might have affected him for a week or so, but he's let it go and he's come back to the gym and he's putting the work in. So when the opportunity does come, I think he'll be ready to take it.
Frazer, just moving away from that, back up to the heavyweight division. Obviously, this past weekend we saw Daniel Dubois fall short in his attempt to become unified champion against Alexander Usyk. What did you make of his efforts out in Poland?
Yeah, it pretty much went how I thought it'd go, to be honest. And I think it took him a while to get the confidence to then go and do what he needed to do, which is just natural, when you're boxing a difficult southpaw. In Alexander Usyk, who's obviously not just a southpaw, just one of the best fighters around, experienced, and he can execute it perfectly on the night. It's like, you see, he's one of the most comfortable people in the boxing ring. If you look at him, it's like it's just all second nature to him. He's done it a million times. But I think Daniel, I personally think Daniel can come away from that with a lot of confidence. Like, even though it didn't go his way and there's all the controversy around that shot, if I was him, I wouldn't stop throwing that shot. Whoever I fight next, I throw the same shot in exactly the same way. Probably try and get it an inch higher, so you just put all the doubt to sleep. But yeah, it was a difficult night for him. You're boxing one of the best to do it for a long time, But I think deep down, I think the confidence of it should be all right. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he was starting to get to him. I know people can say it was after that shot he started getting a bit of confidence. But listen, I say this all the time. Pro boxing is a street fight with gloves and a referee. So, you know, you got to protect yourself, and you have to take some of them hard licks sometimes. You look at them guys back in the day, the neck, the arms, the chest, the kidneys. You do it until you're told not to. And that people might say that's dirty fighting. It's all in the name. It's fighting. That's what you're doing. You're having a fight. So, you know, you got to be prepared for that.
Was it low?
At the time, I didn't think so, but then you do get a bit of brainwash when you look into everything that everyone's saying. And so you see some clips it is, but then if you follow the big lad Don Charleston, George Fox on Instagram, it definitely isn't. He's got some really strong evidence and some really good reasons as to why it wasn't. But then you see other sides of it. So I don't know. And to be honest, it's horrible to say, but what's done is done. That's the horrible world in boxing, isn't it? So it's probably, if you're Daniel Dubois, you probably sit there a bit pissed off. And if you're Usyk, deep down you know whether that caught you in the body or it give you the sensation of a low blow.
One of the other talking points around Daniel was the finish to the fight, and some people questioning if he quit. I hate saying that word, but that's one which has been thrown about. Do you feel like he did?
So, once again, I'll say this, and I have no problem with everyone having an opinion about it. But you spend 9 rounds in a fight with Alexander Usyk, getting peppered a lot of the time by shots, and exhausted. And then if you do watch that shot back, yeah, it was a jab come screw come. Yeah, it was a weird shot. But if you watch the way it snapped Daniel's neck back, I imagine it would hurt. You know, this is boxing, and I don't expect the normal person to comprehend it or understand it or even feel it. So I'm not going to say he quit. I'm going to say he was obviously hurt. If he was in that position again, would he stood up at 7? I think he possibly would have and possibly could have. But in the heat of the moment, things happen in fights, and I'm sure he'd have learnt a lot from it.
Moving away from that fight, I want to get your thoughts on but I imagine a frustrating and a sticky situation surrounding your manager Anthony Joshua on the back of the news of Robert Helenius' positive test last week. Of course, Robert stepped in to replace Dillian White, who returned a positive test. Just want to get your thoughts on that entire scenario, and if you spoke to Anthony, what his thoughts on it have been as well.
No, I'm not supposed to Anthony, man. He'll be enjoying some downtime and chilling. So leave him to that. It's just fucking mad, isn't it? Like, I was always educated. In this side of things. You know, the supplement taking and whatnot. Obviously coming from the GB background, and even still, I worry. You know, for my supplements, cross contamination, this and that. You don't know different people. I don't look at Robert Helenius and think this guy's at this. You don't look at him and think this guy's got it in him to try and do that. But then you just never know. But you have to be accountable, which is horrible if you are innocent. But like I say, you know, I've got my supplements over there. They took a picture of all of them. I know where they come from. I know what dates. I know the expiry date. I know the start date. I know the batch number. So you know, I have good people around me, and I know how to take responsibility on that myself as well. Didn't fucking help him much though, did it? Do you know what I mean? So whatever it is, it didn't help him much, but that's not to say it's right still. You know, I think just to all boxers, not a warning, but just be double conscious with it, because even the guys that are trying to do things the right way and that have no intention of doing anything illegal, just be double conscious of it, double check, because it'd be an absolute travesty to end up on the wrong side of a test. Just because of a bit of foolishness and probably not taking care. Do you know what I mean?
Just with that performance from AJ against Robert, again he had his critics because I think a lot of people thought he might get him out there a little bit sooner. There's a lot of talk about that potential Deontay Wilder fight next. How do you feel like AJ would fare in that fight if it is rubber stamped.
You know, at the time when you're there, obviously you're at row 2, you're at the field, and I'm sat there in the second row. I'm sat with AJ's family. I'm not criticising, but obviously I shout instructions. He's my boy, he's my friend. I do this with every single one of them, from the amateurs to the top pros. While I'm screaming my advice the whole time, and I'm not sure if he must have heard me not getting onto him, but trying to urge him to probably throw that shot a couple of rounds earlier, or throw something similar a few rounds earlier. So when he jumps out of the ring, he comes to me and he gives a little bit of an explanation. He's like, "Why?" I think he said, "Why am I going to rush? Why am I going to rush this?" So I'm breaking him down, and I knew he was going to try and counter me. I took that away from him and executed it. So when I think of it like that, I think, oh, if that's the case, then bloody good job. You know what I mean? You did well. That's a good job done. But at the time, you know, it's easy from the outside of the ring, isn't it? The Wilder situation, I have two different minds. I think, you know, would it be good for him to box again? I think it'd be great to be busy. But then at the same time, no one's getting no younger. You're there. You're both there. Well, why not do it next? Why not do it? Do you know what I mean? I think he's good enough. As well as he is good enough. It's going to be a very difficult fight. Wilder's a savage, man. He's a savage. He really is. But I do think it's a good fight, and it's one that, despite Wilder being so dangerous, I can still give AJ a really good chance in that fight.
Any interest in the Fury-Ngannou fight, Frazer?
I'm not interested, but I'm just not like at the top of my list. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a bit, and it's entertainment. Easy. I'm more interested in it now since I've watched the Netflix documentary. Do you know what I mean? And that's why there'll be a lot. The numbers on that will be massive. The numbers will be huge. It's all it's a very, very good business. The Netflix documentary coming out, the Ngannou fight being next, with it not being as such a proper boxing fight, coming on the back of the Netflix documentary, is very, very astute. You know what I mean? The good business people, and yeah, I'm sure he's gonna earn a lot of it, and I think it'll be one for everyone to enjoy. You know, I think they'll all enjoy it, the spectacle, and as much as it grills everyone to say it, there'll be a lot of fighters trying to learn off this, and there'll be a lot of fighters trying to do the same. You know, if any of them boys, the big YouTube boys, come in tomorrow and say we want to fight Frazer Clarke, I'm sorry to say, people, I'm off. The money that's there, I'm off. I love the sport, and I love doing it the right way, but I'm sorry, the moolah, it fucking speaks a lot in this world. Do you know what I mean? No one ain't gonna, when it's all said and done, it's over. No one ain't gonna be shit about you. So moolah.
Zhang-Joyce too, will your former GB compatriot gain that revenge?
I hope so. I've had a few messages with Joe a couple of days ago on Instagram. Asked him how he's doing. He said he's training well. He looks well. Seen a little video of him. Difficult ask. I seen a video of Zhang as well. Trains hard, that man. Jesus, 40-year-old man. He's 40. Yeah, he trains very hard, very fit, very strong. Good fighter. I didn't like the fight the first time. I still don't like the fight as much. Like, I'm not over the moon with it for Joe, but I understand why he's doing it, and why he's got to do it. I'd do anything for Joe to win. I'd be very happy with him, to get the win back. My only concern was the way he didn't avoid that backhand last time. Is there enough time, and is he a little bit not late on in his career to know how to change? Like, is he a bit too strong in his own ways to be able to change now? Now, I'm hoping not. And the one thing he will be in this fight is a little bit more aware. So a bit like Eubank Saturday, he's going to be aware of what's in front of him, and what could possibly happen to him. So that makes you cautious. So remember, like, it's very similar as well. Ruiz Joshua too. I expect that sort of performance, but I think it's harder than that because Zhang is also a good boxer. But I think Joe's not been known for his footwork or for his feet, but I think that's something that they would have worked on. Avoid that shot as well as you can, for 6 rounds with movement, with peppering him with the jab. Avoid that backhand. And people who talk about boxing these southpaws, keep your foot on the outside and do well. There's no right or wrong way to box these southpaws. You do what you got to do to avoid them shots. I think if you can do that for 6 rounds, make this guy chase him a little bit. I know that's not Joyce's way. Who would ever think we'd say that? But I think if you can make this guy miss a little bit, which he's known to struggle to do, and get this guy punching and follow him and not actually hitting him as often, then the second half of the fight could become very interesting.
Prediction?
Oh, no, here we go. Judging on last time, I'm still going to say Zhang just because I think he can do a little bit more. It's a bit more rounded than Joe. But at the same time, the thing with Zhang-Joyce, it wouldn't surprise you. He's that kind of character. It wouldn't surprise me if he came and put a masterclass on. And I know people wouldn't associate Zhang-Joyce with the word masterclass, and it might not look pretty. But I think he could also possibly come and do what he needs to do for 12 rounds because he's disciplined in the head as well. He could come and do what he needs to do for 12 rounds and make a decision.
Final one, Frazer, before we wrap this up. Canelo-Charlo at the end of the month. Jamal obviously jumping up 2 weights. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was watching it all yesterday on YouTube. Is Canelo slowing down? If he is, it'd be a good fight. If not, I think he's. I think that jump off of divisions that weight is a lot. Like he's going to try and bully him, and he's very good at doing that, making you punch by not taking a lot. But Charlo's spirited, and he's there to fight. So another good one. But I think you still make Canelo favourite. Where's it going to be as well?
It's in Vegas.
Yeah, he's definitely Canelo's a favourite there. We all know what goes on. We all know what goes on in Vegas. We all know the politics of Vegas. Like the money Canelo brings to Vegas. Unless Charlo knocks him out, if it's close, it's Canelo's. If it's not close, it's just by a couple of rounds. It's still Canelo's. You know what I mean? So yeah, good luck to Charlo. I hope he gets paid well, and I hope he puts on a show. But he's got it all against him.
That was going to be my last one. I'm going to squeeze one more out of you. Somebody you'll know well from GB again. Joshua Boatsi, brilliant fight coming up with Dan Azeez. Your take on that?
Oh, brilliant fight, lovely fight. You're going to hear this a lot, but throwback fight. Two sort of throwback styles. Not too much. I was going to say not too much trash talk, but I can sense the London rivalry between them. You know that little press conference. The spite, even though they're friends, the spite is there. You're gonna ask me for a prediction, aren't you? Very good fight. God, I've got to stick with my man. I've got to stick with Buatsi. I've got to. I just think he can put it out of the bag, but I think it's a tough fight. I'm expecting him to box the best he's boxed yet. And when I say that, I don't think it. As much as people say, "Oh, it's going to be an entertainment barnstormer," it could be. But I think for Josh to win this fight, he needs to make it anything but a barnstormer. I think he needs to use his boxing skill. But Dan Azeez as well, another pro that I really admire, and I think he's a great fighter, a great man. So looking forward to it.
Alright, Frazer, it's a pleasure to catch up with you. I'm sure you're going to have to head over to a press conference soon. I can feel my phone going off, so I hope Will isn't calling me saying we've got to wrap this up. So I appreciate it. What time is that, Frazer? 11:30. You've missed the coach, so you've made the drive over. But thank you, Frazer.
Take care, man. Thank you.